Hi guys, Mimi G here with another sew along. Today we're going to be working on my new fall pattern 8750 View C, the pants. Now if you're new to sewing, you might want to check out my online sewing school, sewacademy.com, where we teach in-depth online sewing lessons. Now if you just need a refresher course, you can visit the Sewing Basics video linked in the description box below. Watch that, then come back and sew along with me. Alright guys, we're going to work on View C, the pants. Now, on the back of the envelope, remember that you have a list of fabric suggestions along with notions that you're going to need. And I used a double knit for my pants. You're also going to need some ribbon. Now, whether you want ribbon or no ribbon is up to you. If you don't want any ribbon when we get to the ribbon step, you could just sort of skip ahead and not do the ribbon. If you want to do the double ribbon, I'm going to show you really quickly how I did that. You're also going to need some snaps. I like to use the heavy duty snaps for mine. They come in gold, bronze, and silver, so you just pick whatever works best with your fabric. Now, for the ribbons, let me just show you quickly. It's really hard to find ribbon that has two colors, and then the colors usually don't match what I want to make. So I just make my ribbon. So what I do is I find whatever wide color I want, and then I find a contrasting color that I like that's much thinner. And then using black thread, or whatever thread matches your ribbon, you're gonna stitch down close to the edge, and then you're going to make this just one ribbon. All right, let's go through the pieces you're going to need to cut out. So first you're gonna cut out pattern piece number 10, which is the side front of our pants. You're gonna cut out 2. You're gonna cut out pattern piece number 11, which is our pocket, and you're gonna cut out 2. You're gonna cut pattern piece number 15, which is our waistband for the back. This is cut on the fold. You're going to cut 2 on the fold of the fabric and 1 on the fold of interfacing. Then you're gonna do pattern piece number 13, which is the waistband right front, and you're gonna need to cut 2 of fabric and 1 of interfacing. Then you're gonna cut out pattern piece number 14, which is the waistband left front, and you're gonna cut 2 of fabric and 1 of interfacing. Then you're gonna cut out pattern piece number 12, which is the back of our pants. You're gonna cut 2. And then you're gonna cut pattern piece number 9, which is our pants front, and you're gonna cut out 2. Once you have everything cut out and interfaced, we can go ahead and get started. Okay, we're gonna start with our front piece and our side front piece and 1 pocket. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this around so you guys could see. So you should have marked dots on both your front and your side front and on your pocket. So with right sides facing, I'm gonna keep my pocket in the middle. With right sides facing, you're gonna match up your dots, and you have a notch, so match up your notch. And I'm gonna pin. The right side of my fabric is facing down, although it's the same on both sides for my fabric. I'm going to pin. And now the other side of the pocket, I'm going to do the same thing. Right side's facing, I'm going to pin it to the side front. Now I want you to go to the sewing machine, and you're just going to stitch this down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way down your pocket and all the way down the other side. Okay, so now that we have the pocket sewn to the front and to the side front, you're going to fold this over, and you're going to match your seams. I'm going to put a pin, match the bottom of your pocket. And now you'll notice that I cut a little slit into our pant, right? So you're gonna want to make the stitching line as indicated on the pattern, and then you're going to cut until you reach your dot. Make sure you don't go through your stitching or go any further than the marking. You're gonna do that on both. And we're going to pin. Okay, now we're gonna go to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch. I'm gonna start at my dot. I'm going to back stitch, reinforcing that. I'm going to stitch up until I get to my dot here, leaving an opening for the pocket. I'm going to back stitch, and then I'm going to continue from here, our second dot, up to the top. Okay, starting at the dot, I'm gonna backstitch. Now make sure that your seam allowances are pressed towards your pocket. I'm going to stop and backstitch at my dot, break my thread. I'm going to move up. Backstitch again. Now while we're here, we'll close out our pocket. Okay, so I went ahead and pressed my pocket towards the front. I also made a slash. I cut a snippet into my seam allowance so I could press my seam open. And now you're going to fold along your fold lines, press. You're going to do one at a time, so I want you to fold along your fold line and press it. And then you're going to fold again and press it. And then pin on the right side. So go ahead and press it, and then I want you to press the other one as well. So I want you to press and then press again. Okay, now I have folded and pressed over both sides, and I went ahead and pinned on the right side because I'm gonna do my stitching on the right side because I want my bobbin thread to be on the bottom. I don't want my bobbin thread to be on top. And because my fabric is a bit thick, I can measure out and see exactly how far out I can stitch so that I just catch the very edge of my fabric on the underside. So now I'm going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch up one side and stitch down the other. Okay, I'm going to backstitch the beginning and I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to stitch down the other side the same way. Okay, so once you have them sewn down, now if you're not going to do the ribbon, then you can go ahead and skip ahead. But if you are going to do the ribbon, this is how you would do it. So I finished off my ribbon, I stitched my second color on top of my first color, and now you're going to move your pocket out of the way, so push it over towards the side, and you're going to line this up right along your seam line, okay? And you're going to pin it in place. You want to move your side leg out of the way, okay? Because we're only pinning on the front. I'm placing my ribbon about 1/8 of an inch from the edge because I need to catch along the edge of the ribbon. Okay, now you're going to go to your sewing machine and you're going to stitch your ribbon down. So you're going to stitch along the edge of your ribbon all the way down, and then you're going to do it again on the other end all the way down. Make sure your pocket is out of the way when you're doing this and your seam allowance. You're going to stitch along the entire edge on both sides. Okay, once you have your ribbon sewn down on both sides, you can go ahead and turn this over to the wrong side. Lay it over the top, and then you're going to stitch these down together, okay? So when you pull this back, you have this little lip here for both. You're going to stitch just across these, just to keep them in place. Okay, now with right sides facing, we're going to place both our fronts on top of each other. I'm going to pin matching my notch at the crotch and along the front fly. And just below your notch, you're going to start stitching back stitch using a normal length stitch. And then when you get to your dot, you're going to back stitch. I want you to switch to a basting stitch, and then you're going to continue sewing up. Okay, so using a normal length stitch, I'm starting just below my notch. I'm going to back stitch. I'm going to back stitch again. And then I'm going to switch to a basting stitch, the longest stitch that your machine can do. I want you to press your seam open. Okay, now that you're looking at your, I'm gonna move my pocket out of the way. Now that you're looking at your pants wrong side up, you're gonna move everything to the left of you. You're gonna place your zipper. I always buy an extra long zipper because I like to make sure my zipper pull is out of the way. You can always trim this off later. So I place it so that my zipper pull is above my waistband, above my pants. And you're going to stitch along the middle of your zipper tape. Make sure that you're only stitching on your fly. Then you're going to turn this over. And you're going to stitch close to the edge. Now open your pants back up. Let it lay flat, and then I want you to move your pants to the other side, so that you're only working on the other fly. And you're going to stitch the other zipper tape down. Now turn it to the right side. Now the zipper is to the left of you, right? And now you're going to go ahead and you're going to mark out the curve for your fly and then follow that guide to do your top stitching. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and following my guide, just go slow. Okay, go ahead and remove the basting stitches. And then on the back end, you can just trim off the excess zipper. Okay, we're gonna move on to our inseam. So I want you to grab the back of your pants and go ahead and make your back darts and then give them a good press. Once you've done both of your darts, we're gonna go ahead and pin along the inseam. So with right sides facing, pin at your notches, and then along your entire inseam. You're going to pin your other back leg to your front, right sides facing along the inseam. Then head over to your sewing machine and stitch all the way down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, once you have both your inseams sewn, we're going to go ahead and close the crotch out. So I'm going to start pinning along my back, center back. Make sure to align your seam lines, your inseams. Now you can head over to your sewing machine and you're just going to close this out. Starting at the center back, you're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. When you get to your existing stitches, I want you to go past that and back stitch. Now that we have our crotch sewn together, we're going to go ahead and do our side seams. So go ahead and pin right sides facing, along the entire side seam of your pants, and then you're going to go ahead and sew all the way down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, once you have your side seam sewn, all that's left for us to do is our waistband. So go ahead and get your waistband pieces, and you're going to lay your right and left fronts over your back, just like this. Make sure you're matching your notches. And you're going to stitch down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance and press your seams open. I want you to do the same thing for your facing pieces. Lay your facing pieces the same way, stitch them down, and press your seams flat. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and attach our waistband to our pants. Make sure that your pockets are facing towards the front. You can stitch over the top just to keep them in place. I'm gonna work starting in the back. Right side of the pant is facing me, wrong side of the waistband. Match your notches and your side seams and pin. Your waistband should extend. Now we're going to head over to the sewing machine. We're going to stitch this down, and while at the machine, we'll go ahead and attach our waistband facing. Okay, so we're going to start by back stitching and stitching 5/8 of an inch all the way around our waistband. If you have an excess piece of your zipper, go ahead and cut it off. And what we're going to do now is press your seam allowances up towards your waistband. Okay, now go ahead and pin your facing to your waistband, and we're going to stitch. I like to stitch on the interface side facing me, back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Okay, and then while we're here, we're gonna go ahead and understitch. So make sure that your seam allowance is facing your facing. And we're gonna go ahead and understitch. Okay, so go ahead and do a stitching line 5/8 of an inch from the edge of your facing so you can fold over and press evenly. Then we're gonna fold this over, pin it, and we're going to stitch in the ditch. I went ahead and pressed under my 5/8 of an inch. Now I'm gonna fold this onto itself, and we're gonna close out the front. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. Go ahead and trim your corners, and then you're going to turn this to the right side, and we're going to pin it in place. All right, we're going to go ahead and pin this in place. I like to pin on my right side, so I'm just going to make sure that my folded edge is just past my stitching line. And I'm going to pin on the right side. Just continue pinning until you have your entire facing pinned to your pant. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stitch in the ditch, which means you want your needle to be right in that seam line. Back stitch. And just go slowly until you get to the other end. All right, now all that's left for you to do is to attach your snaps following the instructions that came with the package. And I would suggest you try them on now and see if you like the length. You might want to shorten them if you plan on wearing them with sneakers, or just make sure that they are the right length. And then once you've done that, you can go ahead and press under the hem allowance and finish off your pants. And you are all done. Well, that's all there is to it. I hope you've enjoyed this sew along, and please make sure and follow me on Instagram @MimiGStyle, and please use the hashtag MimiGPatterns. Until next time, peace.